Okay, hello, welcome to my channel where I talk mostly about watercolour painting. So today I'm going to be doing a painting using these colours here, which is Cerulean blue, Paynes grey, Indigo blue and burnt sienna. And I'm going to be mixing this granulating medium into the burnt sienna and Paynes grey just to see what kind of texture I can get towards the bottom of the painting, and it's going to be a landscape painting. Okay, so let's get straight on with it. I'm just putting my colours there in my palette, and I'm going to do a really light wash of the cerulean blue in the background, and I'm mixing that with a little bit of the burnt sienna. I just want to get a very light sky in there, and I am just using my hairdryer just a bit to dry it off, but I'm not going to dry it off fully because I'm going to put some mountains in the background and I want to have the edges slightly feathered, so I'm going to make those mountains with a mix of the burnt sienna and the cerulean blue. And I couldn't actually find my squeegee, which I use quite a lot, so I just used a piece of paper to try and sort of smooth those out a little bit. Like I said, I'm being quite free and easy about this painting. I'm going to dry this layer so that I can add some more mountains on top. And here I'm using again my cerulean blue with my burnt sienna, and these mountains have got a bit of a harder edge than those initial mountains. Okay, and this is still wet, and I'm going to now add in the indigo blue, and I am mixing that with a tiny bit of the burnt sienna, but not much. And I've got my knife there, and I'm just lightly scoring some marks so that I've got some sort of impression of outlines of the mountains there. Okay, so I'm going to put the burnt sienna in the foreground, and I'm mixing it with the granulating medium, and I'm putting the granulating medium directly in with the paint there. Now I actually put a bit too much of the I mixed a bit too much of the indigo blue in with that, but I'm just mixing it all together, and in I go with my brush, and I'm being quite free and easy, and this has got the granulating medium in, and this isn't a medium that I've used absolutely loads, so I'm really interested to see what happens with this. Okay, and all this paint is still wet, and I'm adding some more of the indigo blue on top. I'm going to do this painting more or less in one sitting. I'm not going to put layers on, so I want to try and get a nice tonal variation right from the start. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the granulating medium. So some watercolour paints are granulating and others are not. Now the burnt sienna is not a granulating colour, and the Paynes grey isn't granulating either, so by adding the granulating medium in, you're then turning them into paints that do granulate. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just adding another layer of the burnt sienna with the granulating medium towards the bottom, and I decided that I actually didn't really like the burnt sienna mixed with the indigo blue for these lower layers, so I'm going to do a wash of the Paynes grey over the top of this, because I know that I do like Paynes grey and burnt sienna together. So as you can see, this paint mixture is really quite watery, and most of that is the granulating medium, so I have added quite a lot. I really just want to let this sort of mix and see what's going to happen with it. I think you just need to experiment with the amounts that you add, because you're going to get different effects depending on that. Now I'm getting a little bit of a bloom at the top there, so I'm just running my brush across the top to just try and smooth that out a little bit. Okay, so the colour that's produced by mixing the indigo blue and the burnt sienna, like I said, I'm not super keen on it, so I'm going to add my layer of Paynes grey over the top, because I know that I like Paynes grey with burnt sienna, and so I'm adding it there to my palette, and I'm adding more of the granulating medium. So I'm getting, again, quite a sort of watery mix of the paint. Now, in some ways, I'm painting freer than I normally would. I don't want to control the paint too much, because I want to see what happens with the granulating medium and sort of let it do its thing a bit. And like I said, I'm not going to be putting more layers on top of this probably, so I am trying to get some quite dark tones in there, and also I know that the paint's going to dry lighter than it looks when it's wet, so you can really see that that granulating medium is having an effect, because that Paynes grey is definitely granulated over that burnt sienna, and it's a nice effect. It looks a lot more sort of rustic probably than paintings that I often do, so that's quite an interesting change for me. So here I'm putting again areas of much darker paint, and I really like the contrast between that very dark Paynes grey and that lighter burnt sienna mixed with the cerulean blue for the mountains. Okay, so this paint really is quite wet, so it's moving around quite a bit, and I'm just moving the paper around myself to try and control the direction of the flow of the paint. And I'm going to use my silicone tool a little bit as well, just to help some of that paint to move, across to where I want it to. And I did decide to go in again with my brush. Now you do have to be careful, you don't want to introduce too much watery paint, and you don't want the brush to be too dry. I just did a swipe across the whole thing there, and again just scoring in some very fine lines with my blade. Okay, so this painting is really starting to get finished. I'm just using my silicone tool again there, just to smooth out the top of that mountain a bit. I'm getting some quite sort of feathery lines, which I don't really like. And I'm also using my silicone tool just to make some other lines in the bottom of the painting. But like I said, this painting is finished really. So this has been really quite a simple painting, and I think the granulating medium has worked well in the foreground there. I did it more or less in one layer. It'd be interesting to see what happens if you went over the top of the granulating medium, how well the paint stayed in place. So anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this demonstration, and if you do have the granulating medium and you try it out, then let me know how you get on, or if you have any particular ways that you use it. And if you like this video, then please hit like and leave a comment, really helps my channel. And if you'd like to see similar videos in the future, then please subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you, bye.